Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm going to give an update on the Sunday game and what is replacing it, and an update on me getting back in the saddle, Dungeon Mastering again. All right, so let me give a quick synopsis. So my Dungeons & Dragons Sunday game ran for about 2.5 years. I think it was highly successful, but it had a very cataclysmic end. And basically my Dungeons & Dragons, my Sunday game, my Dungeons & Dragons table, the table was sundered. It was just cracked in half. There was a virtual explosion, and players just flew off in every direction, and I flew off in another direction, and it was a dramatic ending, right? It was an epic ending, right? And I've realized, like, I'm just kind of a dramatic, epic person, and things, when things end, they end abruptly and they end dramatically. It's just part of my life, all right? So, and so basically what happened was, I had a 2.5 years with, actually close to 10 brilliant people who all circled in and dungeon mastered at different paces. And I was a dungeon master. There were multiple campaigns that were run in this period. And it ended when 2 anchor players decided to leave the table. The first one communicated for months that saying, hey, I'm still playing in your Sunday game. I'm DMing in your Sunday game. This is what I'm planning. But all along was not attending and was secretly planning standing up their own table. And when that person told me that they were leaving the table, it was literally in a call that was, hey, how do I record my table? Like, and I was like, well, what are you going to record? Well, my own game. I was like, oh, cool. What night is it going to be? Because you're in I'm not in your game, right? So sending the wrong signals, like saying one thing, doing another, and then literally saying, I need to stand up my table. I know how I'll do that. I'll get you to help me with it. Like, okay, all right, so, and that one actually was the smoother one. The other one was the person ending their arc on the current game, on the Sunday game, off schedule of the other dungeon master who got, who really was SOL, and his ending was never given because the entire table erupted when my second anchor player said, hey everybody, I'm quitting this game. I'm inviting you all to the other game. It's going in front of Scott. That did not end well. I can guarantee you that, right? Like, so the whole table just cracked in half, right? And that was about a month ago, right? And so I was like, okay, your campaign has failed, right? Your Sunday campaign session group, right, has ended, right? And I was like, well, I'll take through the new year, and I'm just gonna run some I'll run some convention games. I'm gonna be running at PhilCon this weekend. I'm gonna be running at PAX. I'll just take the end of the year just to refresh, pull back, collect and reflect, right? Well, I'm incredibly blessed, and I'm already back in the Dungeon Master seat, baby. And so it took about a month, and what was really nice was I had been percolating in my mind. I'm like, how am I going to rebuild my group, right? Like, in the new year, right? Well, one thing that was really a huge blessing, and I do think I did some work to make this blessing happen, was I'm a prominent DM in my local area. I've been dungeon mastering for 20 years here. And I'm a known dungeon master, and I have a public channel, and so just one of the local dungeon masters who I had played with years ago, right, circled up and said, hey, I've been watching your channel. I know you're in a different amount of time, and maybe you have a little more time than usual. And I heard about your Dungeons & Dragons laser sights and last rites. Can I play in that? And I was like, bet you can. And so last night, for the first time, I ran my first session of Dungeons & Dragons Laser Sights and Last Rites, which is a player playing a player character who is a contract killer. And in each session, they kind of have a tell-all with a woman who is writing a book on contract killers, promising anonymity. And so the contract killer kind of, tells about themselves and tells stories about themselves. Then they leave that space and they decide between 3 different contract killer jobs, and then they execute all that. And all of this is happening in 1 hour. So I am compressing the time even further, right? Better Dungeons & Dragons, faster Dungeons & Dragons. So many 5e, like people who are creating 5e content, right? Which you shouldn't even be doing that anymore. But there are just people are very like they clutch to these old frames, right? And they're like they promise cinematic speed, but they never deliver, right? And so I'm walking the walk, right? Like I'm walking the talk, right? I'm building 1 hour Dungeons and Dragons right now, and so last night was the first time I did it. I came in an hour and 3 minutes, right? And so I think I'm gonna be able to get that tighter. It was highly successful in that. And how do I know it's highly successful? Players like, can we play next week? Can we play on Wednesday? I was like, yes, we can. Thank you very much for your engagement, right? Like, so not by me saying how was that, or like some sad sack DM who asks their player how the game's going, right? Like, yeah, like you're gonna get an answer from that. So basically, I'm incredibly blessed to be back in the seat, much faster than I thought. And also I have also now received an invite for a Roll20 game. I'm shocked. With a female dungeon master and 3 male players. I'll be the 4th male player. And it is a dragon-centric current Dungeons and Dragons campaign that meets once a month. And so I'm very excited about this. So I have 2. I'm dungeon mastering one campaign, and I have been invited to play in another, and I am extremely excited. And also it's kind of a sigh of relief because I was like, oh man, how am I going to rebuild everything, in the new year? And the reality is, people build it for me, and my path back is there are planks being laid, which is really nice, and I'm incredibly blessed. And I just wanted to share that with you because, I try to do the best I can to give you great content all the time, but recently OGGM, he's a brilliant D&D commentator, and he had a death in the family, and he said right out, he says like, hey, I had a death in my family. I'm telling you, the audience, this because this impacts my what I'm delivering, and I'm in the same boat. Like when I was really raw, and if my material has seemed off lately, I'm impacted by the things that happen in my life, and that impacts the content you receive, right? So me getting back into the DM table, into the DM seat very quickly and very smoothly, I really feel helps me, stabilize my content and like stage to you joyful content that is that has answers in it. And so thank you for letting me share that with you. I'm very excited. Thanks for all of your support through this difficult time, and I'm just really excited to have Laser Sights and Last Rites up and running. It's very exciting. All that is my humble opinion. Thanks for letting me share it with you, and actually just a report of events in my life, in addition to my humble opinion that I shared in there, that you shouldn't ask players how your game is going because you'll never get a true answer. That's my opinion. The rest of this is simply reporting of events that are happening in my life, which does impact the content you get. I'm very eager to hear about events that are happening in your life and your opinions. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.